me out.
Which I suppose is what an actor does all the time, isn't it? You've got these, in that case certainly, you've got these famous words that every school kid learns, or used to in my day anyway. You got to make it fresh in some way, but whether it's familiar or whether it's not, right? Your aim is always to make it sound like you're kind of making it up as you go along, right?
Yeah.
No character knows exactly what they're going to say.
Even if they have a plan, it never comes out the way.
And this is a perfect example. I just think that's what's so great about the way you're approaching because that's that particular speech, because that's a perfect example of how there simply wouldn't be enough time to con it all by rote, to learn it all and do it. Mark Antony's genius is that he allows his brain and his heart and his throat to all work at the same time, which is actually what you could say about Shakespeare's genius in his writing, is that he actually somehow made his characters work from their gut to their brain to their mouth. All at the same time in a way that no other playwright had ever done before.
All encapsulated in some of the most extraordinary language and metaphor and whatever else you will.
That's one thing about this play. It's filled with amazingly beautiful poetry. There is so much. I mean, we think of Shakespeare as as a great poet, but it's possible to forget just how amazing he actually is until you get to plays like this and plays like Hamlet, plays like Macbeth. They're filled with unbelievable poetry, awesome poetry. That's some of the best writing ever.
And some startling images.
But it's not poetry for poetry's sake. It's poetry because it's human action.
That's right.
And the word, the stakes of the play always meet that poetry. They require that poetry. There's nothing else that will serve it other than Shakespeare's language.
No, it's so far it's sounding like a very masculine play, right? There's a lot of action. They cast you guys. What a pair of snakes.
We'll see how that goes. Really.
We're watching wrestling a lot, so that helps.
Lots of beer and wings.
Excellent. But there are women in this play. What is the role of women in this play? And maybe a subsidiary question to that is, what are women going to get out of this play? Because I sometimes hear women saying, "Oh, Julius Caesar, what's in that for me?"
Oh, really?
Well, you do sometimes hear that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, apart from all those guys,
But,
well, that will actually be a big part of it. I think you have some very revealing costumes.
That's for another webcast. What will women get out of it? I don't know. I don't see it as an exclusively male story by any means, but I mean, I guess it's predominantly men in the cast.
But the women have, the wives, right? Portia
and Calpurnia.
Yeah, I mean, Ben can speak best to this because he's playing someone with a wife. But I will just say that as an observer watching, I'm just amazed by they have limited stage time, but they're kind of extraordinary women.
Yeah, they really are. It's Portia particularly. Calpurnia is amazing too. I'm more focused on Portia because she does that scene with me, and in that scene, Brutus has very little to say. Brutus is trying to not tell Portia what's on his mind, and Brutus, Portia she's so striking. I remember that from any time I've seen the play. Portia is always a standout, because she's so because she treats him, because she deals with Brutus so effectively. There is something to that in this play. It's a very male-dominated play because it's political and because of the time that it was written and written about.
Right.
But the women, as they always do in Shakespeare, have great methods of getting what they need.
Great sense, and I think as well they're the relationships, the marriages, are remarkably positive in a funny way. They're actually really kind of healthy relationships, which you don't always get, And the women are not ambitious necessarily, but they are true partners, which is fascinating.
That's a very good point, actually, because it's often said that the only really loving marriages that you actually see in operation in Shakespeare are between Claudius and Gertrude, and between Lady M and Mr. M, which is another way of saying Macbeth. But in fact, now you've said that, those marriages are
like true partnerships. There's a sort of egalitarian quality to them, And it's
and as is often the case, not always, but often the case in Shakespeare. If they'd really just listened to the women, they would have been all right.
Yeah.
Things would have gone a whole lot more smoothly.
Probably got time for one more question here. The director said something that I thought was quite interesting. He said that this is, in this production, he's trying to imagine ancient Rome as if it existed today. I mean, we've talked a little bit about the play's pertinence to our own times. What are we going to see here? Are we going to see a kind of Rome that's recognizable?
I think, without giving too much away, I think that in a visual sense, what you will get is a hint. You will get a sense of the modern with a hint of the ancient, as well as a sense of the ancient with a hint of the modern. And it's pretty because in a kind of architectural sense, you're certainly going to get the ancient. But in a dress, you have the modern with a little flair of the ancient. It's clever what they've come up with. It's a really neat sort of concept. It's good.
And I don't think it's with any particular fear of setting it in its period, so to speak, or and as well, we're not doing a modern. There's not cell phones. It's not that kind of notion, or trying to find those sort of links. It's just simply to frame the play in a way that is original, but at the same time, say familiar and ancient at the same time, and without it leaning on too much of a. This is where I've set it. It's not set in a year. It's not set in a place. It's just the structure of Rome, but with kind of a modern feel for, be it costumes and even some of the decor, I guess.
Sounds great. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys both, Ben Carlson, Jonathan Goad. Next week we're going to be back for our last webcast of the season. We were going to have some more throughout the season, but we've cut them short. Actually, we're going to finish up next week. Anne Swerdfager, our media manager, will be here. Our guests will be Lucy Peacock and director Martha Henry. They're going to be talking about Three Sisters. In the meantime, I'm David Prosser. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.